that we have all the panelists sit right outside the door, and we announce and welcome in with music and everything.
That would be fun.
Hi.
Well, if one more person walks in. Well, there's that one. God damn it. I'll be right back.
All I hear is abandonment. That might sound a joke.
It's great to go up to random people and say, "It's good to see you again," and then have them
You
kind
even
of roll
look
through
at the
Rolodex of who the hell
waveform,
you
Joe.
are.
Is it pitching up okay? Do I need to pull it closer? Joe?
And I'm like, I remember faces but not names. That brought up
Okay.
Of course, you have to.
yeah, it's E.
I'm too annoying not to.
What?
It's Alex B. Keaton.
I can
Yeah, that's
follow
right.
that.
Yeah.
So, regardless of whether you're all the way up on the board, it's
No,
Westwood
that's fine.
taught me many years ago that it's good to see you instead of it's nice to meet you. It's good to see you will never get you in trouble.
that's right. Unless it's actually not good to see.
Until you get a summons, and then you don't say that.
I see you.
I always have to put a face on.
Acting.
Acting. Love it or leave it.
Is there any reason not to go ahead and get started? Anybody object?
Good.
All right.
And then you're on right after.
Well, hello, everybody.
That's a 2.5.
Welcome to DragonCon 2024. We're gonna go a little bit louder because I think we're the first official panel down here in all the galleries. So we'll do it more time so we can embarrass Trick Track, embarrass Brit Track, take over the rooms, be kings of the basement, right? It's all right. Welcome to DragonCon 2024. There we go. This is the kickoff panel, and I get so much grief about what I call it every year, but a confluence is a coming together of ideas and reasons. So we want to talk about, we have different flavors of what the con is going to represent this week for the digital media track. We're going to talk about some of our favorite things, what we're looking forward to, and you get to ask some of your favorite creators anything you would like. And they get to choose to not answer if it's a question that they didn't like that you asked. So there's safety on the table. Safety. I felt tension go up down there. I know you got a lot of
Is there
privacy.
a word or is there a safe word?
Yeah, safe word is.
Thank you.
I lost it. Innuendo and implied. Somebody came up with a they mixed the two words together. Like, oh, that makes a great fake word. I can't get it.
No.
Impu? No. Yeah, that would be your safe word.
Influendo.
I want to see Bobby down there go, I got an impu right now. It's like, no, sir. No, sir. It's already 5:30. Why are you making those kind of jokes, Bobby? I don't understand. I am Charles McFall, the director of the Digital Media Track. I'm happy to see all of you here so far. It's going to be a great, amazing weekend. We got a lot of amazing stuff. And this is just a mere fraction of the amazing creators that we have doing panels all weekend long. And I'm going to go down. We're going to get you all introduced. Everybody knows who you are. We're talking about a little bit of the things you're going to see around the room. And then we're just going to have some fun and talk. So, Jess, let's start with you. Tell everybody who you are.
I'm Jess. I go by Stress in a Box online. I am a content creator. I originally went viral for animal content back in 2020, 2021. But now I do more like DIY and promoting of my fantasy books and, giving information on how to write as self-published. So that's me.
Hey everyone, I'm Elisa Teague. I am actually a tabletop game designer and author, but so I write for Dungeons and Dragons, and I've written on the Marvel TTRPG and G.I. Joe, Transformers, Power Rangers, and My Little Pony RPGs. And
Are these like up and coming start off brands? I don't know if I've heard about
yeah, I mean they're little known. They're growing. We're going to make our mark this year.
I believe in you.
Support indie games.
I was the director of the RPG department at Renegade Game Studios for a while, and I did run all of the 5th edition Vampire and Hunter and starting Werewolf, and then I left it to go freelance again. Books. So yes, I've worked greatly on all of those books. And so why am I here on a digital panel? Well, we've determined it's because I'm also on a couple actual plays. So that's when people play games on Twitch or YouTube. And I'm on a couple of those. And a lot of people play the games that I write on actual plays and on those platforms and more. So I'll be giving my opinion on those things.
Amazing. Hi, everybody. My name is Heather Bodie, and I did not think about doing a panel while wearing a corset, so I can't breathe. But I will try to talk as much as my body will allow me. I am a fitness professional. I have a workout program specifically tailored towards nerds. It's a virtual workout program, completely takes place online, and it's called Geeknasium. And I created it so that all bodies and all types of nerdy people could enjoy fitness. And all of the workouts are themed in pop culture and fandom to make it accessible to everybody. So that is what I do. I'm also an actor, a model, and a cosplayer, as you can see, who didn't think about this cosplay before sitting down to be on this panel.
Hi, everyone. I'm Philip D. Keating, the Imaginary Nomad. I am a Twitch horror and retro streamer. I'm also a co-creator of Botched, a D&D SCP podcast, which is an improv comedy show. And I'm a mental health advocate here at DragonCon, and we'll have a couple mental health balancing panels at some point during the con.
So we're supposed to introduce ourselves. So the safe word's banana, so I can just get out of this, right? Charles likes me because I'm always too serious all the time.
Rob, can you tag out, buddy? Can we tag out, Rob? Yeah.
So my name is Bobby Blackwolf. I have been a video game podcaster for just over 19 years now. Started in 2005, just did my 900th episode. I've been doing it live the entire time. So this is Shoutcast Internet Radio. So I was streaming before streamers were around. And I also co-founded the Voice of Geeks Network with my partner, Rob Roberts, out back there, business partner. And we are a geek network, geek-centric podcast network and streaming network, podcast and stream about video games.
And it's been an amazing run. And you don't just do that. The whole Voice of Geek really covers a lot. In the network, it's a network. It covers a lot of different territory with the shows.
Yeah, so we've got an anime show. We like Rob and I do the video game side, but we've got an anime show. We've had a Star Trek show in the past, and several other shows that have pod faded a little bit, but we're getting some more back in.
Awesome. So some of the things you see around the room, if you look over here to our left, probably your right, we've got the Superheroes Unite. That's Sakat.org. They have come in again this year and have sponsored this track and have helped us put on some of the magic that we're going to do this weekend. So I've got a little thing to read about Zakat. For over 22 years, they've been empowering lives through disaster relief, food distribution, orphan care, and more. Their top-notch ratings from Charity Navigator and Better Business Bureau Wise Giving Alliance means your contributions are going to make a difference. So it's Zakat.org. If you scan that QR code, even something as little as $1, it just helps say thank you and lets them know that they're affecting this part of the world that we're a part of. We're very grateful to them. On the front here, you see the banner, right? And that's a charity bucket. So there's this thing old timers like to talk about. It's called cash and change. And it's so dirty. You don't want your dirty change. We have a recycling plant right here for your dirty change. All that goes to this year's sponsor. And if you don't have change, right on this front banner, there's a QR code for the Arthritis Foundation. So the DragonCon charity for 2024 is the Arthritis Foundation. It's a Georgia chapter. The number one cause of disability is arthritis. It affects nearly 60 million adults and hundreds of thousands of children, including one of our own. Kit Kat the Cat reached out to me this year. She wasn't able to come, but she said, she gave me permission to tell the story. She said she nearly cried when she saw that this was the foundation that the DragonCon was supporting this year. So she's had rheumatoid arthritis since she was a kid, and it can be crippling at times for her. And so everything helps. Every little bit helps. So you've got the QR codes, you've got the change buckets. DragonCon matches up to $125,000. And last year, as a con, we raised $272,000. And they matched, so whatever that math is, they matched dollar for dollar up to $125,000.
Georgia's not known for their schooling down here with their math, right?
Math is
Go
hard.
Birds!
The Go Birds!
All right. So that's the business. But you see, we've got the marathon run. Who's walked a marathon already today? Checking in, getting your badge, right? So that's true. All right,
3.5.
You're gonna do more than a 5K this weekend. If you'd like a cool medal, this year's is Star Trek. It says "Boldly Go." It's a great medal. You scan the QR code. I think it's $25. Goes straight to the charity, all of it. And then you get credit for all the miles that you walked while you're here this weekend. It's awesome. And then, if you would like to be a part of this community as a panelist, or you just like to know what's going on throughout the year, we've got the other QR code that is for the digital media track, which is where you're sitting right now. We have Discord. We're on YouTube every week. We do a show called Be Awesome Together, where we just try to keep this going throughout the year. We have takeovers, we have panelists, we have interviews, and I think a lot of people here at the sales have actually been on the Be Awesome Together. If you haven't, we're gonna have to make that happen. So those are all the housekeeping things. It's going to be an awesome year. In case you don't know, this is Galleria 6. Galleria 7 is right behind us. We got some signs coming to help everybody get there. And otherwise, it's go into the app, right? Look up your favorite people. So now, think of some questions. Any question you want, just pop right up. We got the microphone. I'm going to go down. All of you here have multiple panels this year, I imagine. Why don't you go ahead and talk about one of the ones you're looking forward to the most that you're going to do?
I guess I'm first, huh? Because I'm right next to you.
I mean, I can go, Bobby. It's your call, Jess. You're the best, Jess. So you do what you want.
I'm really excited for the Women in Digital Media one. Actually, that's going to be on Sunday, so I'm really excited for that one.
Pause for applause. All right, there we go.
Oh, this is hard. I'm on some really great panels. I will say that I have to plug on Sunday. I am playing D&D live. We're only playing in an hour time slot, which is going to be very interesting. But I'm playing with the group that I play with on one of the actual plays I'm on. It's called Legacy of Worlds, and I'm playing with Luke Gygax, who's all of these are guests here, but Luke Gygax, Ed Greenwood, who created the Forgotten Realms. If any of you are D&D players, I don't know. Keith Baker, who created Eberron. Myself and Tommy Gofton, who created Amaria, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm especially excited because just before that, I'm on another panel called Traps, Riddles, and Tricks, or something like that in games. I did write the puzzle section of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which is a hardcover D&D book. And so I'm a puzzle designer as well, and I put a lot of puzzles into my own games that I run, but also every game that I create, even board games, there are hidden puzzles and everything. So I'm very excited to talk on that panel.
Charles, that's just math.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was magic. I was amazed.
No, it's math for you, bud.
She's better.
Yeah.
She's better than your magic. So that's cool.
For me, I would say it's the imposter panel that's happening Saturday night. I think it's really cool that I'm on that panel because I attended the panel last year as an audience member, and I even asked some questions, and I experienced my own imposter syndrome about being on the digital media track when Charles invited me to do a panel last year, and I told him he had the wrong person.
You did, yeah.
I was like,
you actually came up like this point in time in the class, like, okay, I'm Heather Bodie. I think you have me on the wrong panel. I was like,
no, this is the right fit. I was certain that he meant to ask someone else. And he was like, you're the one who does the digital workouts, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you're a digital creator. I was like, oh, okay, that's what that means. Got it. Like, I had never seen myself as a digital creator until Charles put me on the panel last year. So I think it's like a cool evolution that I get to be on the imposter syndrome panel this year and kind of talk about it and talk about my experiences with it. And that you kind of always struggle with it, even when you are a place that you always imagined you would be.
That panel is at the Crystal Ballroom tomorrow at 8:30.
Is it Saturday?
Saturday, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I got my days right. Which is
What day?
so it's Saturday, Crystal Ballroom, 8:30. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be raw. I was on that panel last year and was in here, and we kind of had to turn people away, which is going to be great in the Crystal Ballroom because it fits so many more people. It's an emotional panel to do. It's an emotional panel to sit through. It's also the one that I'm looking forward to the most because as the panelists up here, we kind of let a lot of things just flow out raw, and it's hard to do, but it's very helpful to a lot of people that are sitting in the crowd. I think that was my favorite panel that I did last year, and that was the biggest response I got last year was going through, how do you do this constantly and you're suffering from terrible depression that you don't think you're good enough. So if that sounds like you and you're thinking about getting into digital media, but your own brain is telling you you're not good enough, we'll see you Saturday night at 8:30.
I think I need to go to that
Yeah,
panel.
you're more than welcome to.
Come on.
And then the other panel I'll touch on, since Heather spoke so well about it, is tomorrow at 8:30. We have a panel called "Wait You Haven't Seen" with TV's Travis, where we sit down and we talk about a movie that we've never seen before and analyze and go through it. This year, we're going to talk about Borderlands, the movie. If you are Borderlands curious,
Wait, you had to see that?
well,
That sounds like a Rotten Tomatoes rating right there. How the audience just.
yep, it was quite the experience. So if you also are had that experience, or you want to be
Just skip the
curious
experience.
about the experiences, check out Wait You Haven't Seen, because it's going to be a doozy.
Now, Bobby, you're not only doing panels, you're
Yeah.
hosting panels for the main program.
I am. That wasn't the one I was going to pimp.
You
but
you
yes.
pimp your own thing, baby. I
Well, I'm
get
the
you.
biggest imposter up here because I said 2 words and you wanted to replace me with someone else.
I mean,
So,
we can all agree Rob Roberts is the most amazing creator in the world, right? Come on. I want to be like him when I grow up.
Y'all not clapping, don't know.
nobody wants to be like me when I grow up. But anyway, so but on Sunday here, we're hosting a panel called what is it?
Words are
Turning,
also hard.
turning is the word that I was looking for. Turning digital media skills into IRL skills, which ties into what you were talking about, because through doing the podcast and the streaming, I have been able to transfer those skills to do other things like live hosting of events. One of the events that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of is an event called Games Done Quick. And what Games Done Quick is, it's a week-long charity marathon benefiting a charity, and they'll raise $2.5 million for a charity, and it's a speedrunning marathon. So it's streamed on Twitch, and it's kind of like the old Jerry Lewis telethons. If you're my age, you remember those. But instead of variety acts, it's people beating video games really quickly, and I'm one of the many people that is the analogous to operators are standing by.
Jerry Lewis, known speedrunner.
Yes. So, but that being able to do that and auditioning and being able to do that well, I attribute a lot of that to the stuff I've done with my podcast and with streaming. And then that also came into, I have been one of the fortunate ones to be promoted up to main programming here at DragonCon. So I am also introducing Catherine Tate on stage twice this week. I am doing a panel with several voice actors from a game that we cannot mention because it is currently struck work. So we've had to pivot in like the last 3 days on how to do that panel.
Interesting.
So it's going to be like last year's panels just
Yep.
for that one
Yeah.
panel. So all my things about me being the favorite moderator on a specific space station, I can't say. But a lot of that was because of what I learned from doing podcasting and doing streaming and stuff. But we have other people that also like do some main stage hosting of big events. We've got people that transferred it to work, and also things that maybe they learned from work doing presentations that they were able to bring into their podcasting and streaming career. So it's kind of both directions. So that's the one I'm most excited about, because I can actually help talk about that stuff and not be an imposter there.
I love it. You understand words mean things, right? No, you got a question.
Yeah, to take off of.
Well, if you don't mind, 'cause we're streaming live, so that live audience can hear you.
So to pivot off what you're talking about as well is a question for you, maybe for the others. Speaking of transferring skills into real life, have any of you ever looked into Toastmasters?
That's great. I've been a Toastmaster before. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. When you talk
So,
about
why
translating,
don't you explain what Toastmasters is?
So what it started off as was a public speaking organization. It's over 100 years old now. It was started because Walter Smedley was seeing people coming into the workforce who had no communication skills. They were fantastic engineers. They had all these technical skills, but they couldn't stand up and give a presentation. And so that's really what it came from, was teaching people to be able to speak in public, being able to stand up here. Because I know some people would not want to come and stand up here and simply ask a question in front of a panel like this. But it's a fantastic opportunity. And I was thinking the same thing. It's like, if you're wanting to do this, doing it, you're streaming, if you're even want to take those skills and take it into real life or in your workplace. Yeah, that's something I was curious if anybody here has ever done that to enhance your skills on your streaming.
Is Toastmasters kind of like PowerPoint karaoke? Is that?
I gotta use that. Kind of, actually. They have a warm up section that is kind of like that when they start it. Yeah.
I haven't done that, but like there's one of the Jackbox party packs, if you're into those, has a game called Talking Points, where it's you're trying to give a presentation, but somebody else is choosing the slides. And that's kind of what PowerPoint karaoke is. You don't know what the slides are, but you have to give a coherent presentation. And I love doing that. That's a great test of
I
like improv
hate
skills.
that game at parties.
I love it. It's my favorite.
I hate it so much.
Well, the secret is to play it till you've seen every slide. So now you're improving what you've memorized.
So you go through it and read all the Trivial Pursuit cards and get the
Yeah.
answers memorized.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you win. I think Toastmasters, it's an organization not associated directly with DragonCon, but I did go through it. And I was already a digital media creator before I did that. But what it definitely taught me was there's different styles of speech that if you want to do the goals, you have to do that kind of speech. And when you start doing any form of digital creation, you just put yourself out there, right? You do it. And then you get good enough that an audience follows, maybe you go viral, something picks up, maybe you get a little work from it, any kind of creation. And you think, I'm pretty good at what I'm doing. You start to get that confidence. And then you go to a class like that and you start learning what you don't know. And it definitely helps expand out. And coming back to that imposter syndrome, I do think, I was talking about words mean things. Yes, it's called digital creation. And I've had numerous people over the years go, your story, Heather, I'm not sure I'm a digital creator. We can't just do a creator's track because that's really what I love to do. Here's how you create. Now, my passion is digital media. I've done it for 20 years this year. And it is where I've cut all my teeth. However, I was talking with Lisa before the panel. I was like, yeah, I got you. You've had people play your stuff, but in that writing process, in that creative process, and well, you didn't mention you're a puzzle creator. That's pretty stinking amazing. That kind of thought process is when you tell your story, it will help somebody else. And that's what I think most people do. And that's why I love the imposter syndrome panel is it will be a table full of vetted creators who have done some great work. We're sitting up there talking about how you just don't think you can do it, right? And there's days that you can't face the camera. And I saw some of your prep, and I won't out it. I'll save it for your panel. But you said number 2 is staring us down, and it's everybody in the audience is sitting there going, "Wait, if you're up there." And I think you're hilarious. You do this great content, and you're talking about this. Maybe I can too.
Well, that's the great thing about that panel is everybody up there doesn't want to be up there because we're not good enough to be up there, and everybody in the crowd doesn't want to be up there because they don't think they should be up there. So it's like this power balance. It's great.
It's a support group.
Yeah, it is.
It sounds more like group therapy is going to be
You
happening.
you have no idea.
And
Like,
that's some of the best
it's funny
creation.
because like last year, once that panel was over, we have like 30 minutes to get through and get another panel up here.
Yeah.
We had to move the conversation with everybody outside into the hall because we didn't have enough time, right?
Wow.
And so we all just stood out there for about an hour and just talked about it to each other. It was wonderful.
And that's the
I
beauty
can't
of what
wait.
we do.
I'm not sure how loud the mic is. Oh, okay. Hi.
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 Hello.
Tom. I actually did Toastmasters through Gapple Club. If anyone's a Girl Scout, I highly recommend it. It is not like PowerPoint karaoke.
Okay.
What about the icebreaker one,
First
right?
of
You
all,
just gonna have to.
In my head, I'm 6 feet, but I'm not. So okay.
I mean-
You said the icebreaker. Oh, I did have a question. My question for the panel, because we've been talking about imposter syndrome and kind of like what everyone does. My question is about what was the catalyst that then made you do it?
Ooh.
That's my only question. Thanks.
I can go first.
Okay. I just seen him at eye contact.
For me, my drive and my passion was more than my fear, and the need to make some sort of change what was driving me. And I was really scared, and I'm still really scared, and I still feel all sorts of crazy emotions every single day, but the passion behind what I do and what I create is why I do it. A little bit about like how I got into fitness. I grew up in a larger body. I was the quote unquote like fat best friend all throughout school. And
if you would have told me when I was like 13 that I'd be a fitness professional, I would have been like, yeah, right. Like I had never done anything fitness related at all. And then I went to theater school to be an actor. And I throughout high school and throughout college, I was playing all of these very matronly roles, such as a mom or a cook or a nurse, that kind of stuff. And then I graduated from college. I grew up in Cincinnati and I went to school in Ohio. And after I graduated, I moved to New York to pursue my career in acting, right? And of course, acting is hard no matter what you look like. But when I got to New York, I realized that I had never played a role that was age appropriate for me. I was always playing older women. And obviously, an older woman will play those roles in the real world, right? And that was kind of like a shock to me. And it wasn't necessarily a shock, but it was just like, oh, what do I do now? Because I've only ever worn age makeup, you know? And so I had to learn how to market myself as a 22-year-old, and I had never had to do that before. So I started taking more classes, and I took a class with a very esteemed casting director, and she was actually really great. And she told me I was talented, and I really liked her, and she seemed to really like me. And on our last day of class, right before we graduated, it was like a 6-week long course. She sat with us and looked over our headshots and resumes, and she was basically giving us feedback. And the feedback I got on mine was that my headshot was great, but that she had never seen a casting breakdown come across her desk that I would be good for. And so I took that to mean I was uncastable. And because I exist in a larger body, I was driven to go to the gym. I thought that if I lost weight, I would get cast in things. And my relationship with fitness started from a very negative place. I was punishing my body for what it looked like. I was using it as a way to make myself worth something, to make myself mean something. And then once I started actually losing weight, I didn't actually feel better about myself, but more people were complimenting me and more people were giving me that feedback. And so I kept doing it, and I kept a lot of very unhealthy habits. And my mental health was really bad, and I was really struggling. But no one knew I was struggling because I was losing weight, and that's what you're supposed to do, right? Quote unquote. Fast forward to me discovering She-Hulk, who is a cosplay that I do all the time. And I discovered She-Hulk, and it was the first time I had seen a female in the media live in a body that was outside of society's expectations of her. She chose to be green. She chose to be this like giant woman, and she still dated, and she had her own law firm, and she was very empowered. And I saw that, and I was like, I want to be like her. And then I started channeling She-Hulk into my workouts. And I really started, instead of focusing on weight loss, I started focusing on like, how can I feel a little more empowered like She-Hulk? And I completed a little workout program at the same time as discovering the She-Hulk books. And I realized that fitness no longer felt like a punishment to me. It felt like a game. It felt fun, and I was enjoying it. And so that's why I decided to become a fitness professional, is because I wanted to help people skip the part where they hate themselves, which I know is like pretty much, if you start a fitness journey, there's probably a part of you that started at that negative
You
place.
don't even have to do that to hate yourself.
But I wanted to teach people that there can be joy in fitness, that it can be fun, and that it doesn't have to be about what you look like. It can be about how you feel, and you can feel empowered doing it. And that story right there, that meat, that core, to me is more important than my fear. Teaching people so that they don't have to go through what I went through, or so that I can help them through it. That's why I do what I do. And the idea is that that is more important than anything that might be holding me back. Sorry, I know that was a long story.
Great. So what's good, Bobby? You
I can also
Yeah,
answer that
jump in, jump in.
because I like that question. why I started doing digital media is because I thought it would be fun for the small group of community that I was in, and then other people started listening, and I thought I was only going to do it for like 19 days, not 19 years, which is why I called the show the Bobby Black Wolf Show, because I didn't think it was going to last that long. But the root of the answer is because tying back into imposter syndrome. When I was younger, like in college, I didn't take opportunities that were basically offered to me on a silver platter. And I did this a couple times. Anybody here know like Drum and Bugle Corps, DCI? Carolina Crown asked me to come to camp, like personally, and I didn't do it because I didn't think I'd be good enough. And they personally came to me and asked. The college radio station was like, "Hey, you'd really be good at this. You should come and apply and try this." And I didn't. And so eventually I was like, I am missing out on opportunities and I don't know if I'm going to be any good at them because I don't even give them a shot. They're like, "Here's the door." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. That's a cool door. I'm going to leave." And so when I was able to do podcasting and streaming a couple of years later, I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to do this and we'll see where it goes." And then I started actually like applying for things and auditioning for things. And I've got some amazing stories under my belt, but it was because I said, if an opportunity presents itself, I'm going to go for it, even if I have the imposter syndrome. And that's why I do it. And that's why I'm actually still doing it, because I don't know how to quit.
So, Jess, coming off of what Bobby's talking about being open to opportunities, you talked about how you did some pet creation, content creation, and then you went viral. You didn't have to keep going viral. You didn't have to become the best Jess on the internet.
So I have a very complex relationship with my original viralness on the internet. So my animals were a hobby of mine and I enjoyed sharing that hobby, but I also enjoyed doing stuff like makeup content and cosplay content and stuff. And that was what I originally started getting us following for, was doing makeup and cosplay mostly. But then the animal content skyrocketed, and all of a sudden overnight I went from like 200,000 followers to 1.3 million, like literally in a week. And so I then proceeded to let the animals take over my entire life. And it was and my brain started going, all that mattered was getting views and getting clicks and and that was where my brain went, and I started hating it a lot.
They also balanced your checkbook, was cooking for you.
I mean, going viral on TikTok back in 2020 was like the most inconvenient app to go viral on because you made absolutely no money on it, which really sucks for a lot of the creators back then, because now they're kind of in this spot where they had their viralness back then and now they've dwindled and they have a small group of dedicated fans, and so now they can't sustain themselves. They have to go back to day jobs now, essentially, which is what I had to do actually. But I have a very complex relationship, and a lot of my stuff that I post now where I do mention my animals, I'm very much like, we can talk about them in live streams. I'll show you guys my fish on my desk or whatever, but I very much have set that boundary with my followers where they're my pets, not yours.
Heck yeah.
So,
That's great.
yeah, a lot of people have unfollowed, have gotten a little upset about that. But for my mental health, separating my hobby from my content became really important to me. And I didn't really care about the views or the clicks anymore. I cared more about myself being happy with my content and myself being happy with what I was creating. So no, don't go viral anymore. Every once in a while I do, but I'm not getting millions of views on every video like I was when I was posting animal content. But I'm happier now.
That is very important. And the opportunity that presented itself, you took it instead of trying to build a business and capitalize and possibly burning yourself out.
Oh no, I did do that.
But then you rose from the ashes.
Yes.
But you learned about yourself, is my point.
Yes,
You learned, and then you put in the boundaries, and you became safe. And even though I would dare say, I'm gonna make up numbers for you. I dare say your dwindling was now, oh, you're at 950,000. Oh, such a small crowd. But you're still had the opportunities to come and change lives and have your life changed by sitting on panels that you still didn't have to choose to take, and you did. And that seems to find a good balance. And that seems to be a hard thing.
And I mean, I will say, like, the small group of very dedicated, not small, but the smaller group of very dedicated fans, and I have, especially the people who have followed my fantasy author journey as an indie author, they are amazing and they get me through the day and they make me just so happy. And I don't have people just constantly demanding content from me anymore because I put up that boundary.
There you go.
And
yeah.
so boundaries are important, friends, is what I'm saying.
Very true.
So, Elisa,
Yes.
what boundaries have you had to put in your career coming up?
I think that well, I was going to touch on this last one, but this is a good question
Whatever you
too.
want.
For me, it's interesting because there is the notion of like parasocial relationships when you are a creator of any sort. People consume the things that you create, whether it's digital or not, and and especially if you're interacting with them online, they think that they know you so well because they see your everyday everything. You know, you post where you are, you post what you're doing, you post about the latest thing you're working on, and I'm so thankful for every single person who picks up a book that I write or plays a game that I make, and it's amazing. But the problem is that a lot of times I've never met that person in real life.
Yeah.
And so, you know, at conventions like this one, and I go to, you know, a lot of gaming conventions, Gen Con, Gary Con, things like that, you know, people will approach me and just start up a conversation and expect that I know who they are. And then in my head, because I have the same thing where I'm really good with faces, but terrible with names because I meet so many people. I also have ADHD, and so it's very difficult for me. And so I'm sitting there thinking to myself, where did we meet? Where did we meet? Did we have, you know, a conversation before? And I'm usually pretty good if we have. So I've really tried to put up boundaries, especially at conventions where, yes, you can approach me anytime for an autograph. I am absolutely thrilled to, you know, to interact with fans and friends in every way possible. But for those of us who do have larger followings, my boundary is personal time. So if I'm like eating at a restaurant and but we're at a convention and you know come up and take like snap up, there's so many pictures of me. Don't go looking, but there's so many pictures of me.
Yeah, that works on the
Either
internet.
mid-sentence-
Don't do something.
Don't
internet.
do it.
mid sentence talking to somebody and like the pictures of me like or like biting into like I was today at lunch. I was eating, you know, a veggie burger over. It doesn't matter. But sorry. And like you know, I'm eating, and there are people taking pictures of cosplayers that are around. I'm like, I know that this is
In the
going to pop up somewhere. Here's something, right? And so those are the most of the boundaries that I've had. Aside from, you know, just don't be a jerk on the internet. You know, I've had some, you know, when you're in the game industry, you know, Gamergate is a thing, and it translates onto tabletop too. And you know, I've had people overstep boundaries of, you know, whether they are, you know, interested in a, you know, like potentially like nice way, but too nice maybe. Like, no, I'm not interested in dating anybody. Or just really like interested in just cutting you down because you are a specific gender or have certain sexual preference or certain religion or race. And I've unfortunately had to bear all of those types of comments. And so I think that's where I set my boundaries. Like, use that block button. It, you know, yeah, you have one less follower. Who cares? Block, block, block. So that's basically where I am.
I want to piggyback off that a little too. Is like I totally feel you with the ADHD thing and people just walking up to you like they know you. I have had to with some of my followers. I've had to sort of explain like I'm not always going to immediately recognize you, and I think that you need to have some grace with that. And personally, in my practice, whenever I run up to someone at a con, I always introduce myself and say how I know them, because that's how I would like people to do with me.
Yeah.
I even did it to Charles today. I was like, "Hi, it's me, it's Heather." He's like, "I know who you are, Heather." I was like, "Okay, great. I just wanted to make."
But
sure
it's
you-"
very helpful 'cause in case you
Yeah.
don't remember. It's
Yeah, I don't want anyone to
kind.
be in a position where they feel
Yeah.
like I'm in I'm in cosplay. I don't look like this ever, especially all the time. And so like when people come up to me and they act like they know me, or maybe it is that parasocial thing, I always feel so guilty if I don't remember their name or don't know where I know them from. And I've kind of had to in multiple ways because I'll re-ask people like, "Oh, can I get your name again?" And they're like offended by that. And so I've kind of had to ask my following for some grace sometimes, because it's like, even if I am your friend, sometimes I only know you by your Instagram handle. And sometimes your Instagram handle, more often than not, doesn't have your first name in it.
Or photo. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
I can't place it. They're like, we had a conversation online. I'm like, okay, but this is the first time I've ever seen you. What is your
Yeah.
name? You know, and also just to piggyback on that, oftentimes, even if I do know people, and I'm sure this happens to everybody, I do know you, but we're at a convention and I'm zipping off to the next panel or next
Yeah.
obligation, and I really do want to have that conversation. I'm like, come join me at my next thing, or I'll be outside right afterwards, and I'll answer any questions you want. And I always stand around and answer questions afterwards. But sometimes we are just really on the go, or have a business meeting or something like that, and it's not trying to be rude.
Yeah.
It's just I have to go, and so, and a lot of people don't understand that, and they think that because you are a public, personality, that you owe them all of your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh.
just saw on I don't know if anyone follows the Instagram account called Cosplay Tea Room, but they just posted something that was very much like, large content creators don't owe you anything, and then it's like some tips on how to interact with them. And like, I don't have a huge following. I don't have I'm having imposter syndrome being on this panel right now.
Save
Sorry.
it.
I
Save
know,
it.
I
Save
know.
it till
She
Saturday.
is sub 100 million. Okay, somewhere in there.
But I do think that it can be very overwhelming to be in a space where people are, especially if you have ADHD or neurodivergent in some way, to have people, coming up to you and saying things, and it's always welcome. I do say it's always welcome. I do want to say hello, whether we are mutuals, whether we're not, whether you're a fan of my content, whether we've just met and you like my cosplay, whatever it is. I always welcome it. I do have the boundary of like, not while I'm eating, please. Or if my shoes are off and I'm sitting down, like fanning myself, please. But there's always that sort of caveat of, okay, if you do know me, just tell me how you know me. Like, oh, I'm a fan of your work. Or like, oh, this is my Instagram handle, that kind of thing. I think that's very helpful. And I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to ask. And I think that's the biggest thing is the boundaries that we are setting. I don't think that they should be seen as unreasonable. And any boundary that someone has, maybe you're not happy with it, but it's not unreasonable because it is their boundary.
We have a guest at the track here this year, and he actually just posted a video not that long ago. And then last night they told me another story of basically fans on TikTok finding his house.
Yep.
And he was very cool about it, but he's like, hey, don't.
Yep.
Because that's very scary, because my family's here, my kids are here. You feel like you know me, and that's kind of the part of what we do. We are sharing ourselves, but we have not actually met you. Please just don't come to my house and do that.
That is scary.
And then he actually shared, like, he'll share, we've got a Finding the Stories, I think it's tomorrow night in the Crystal Ballroom, where I'll be talking to Daniel Gossard. And he's talking about on his rise to where he is now at roughly 300,000 followers. Somebody, because then he was still working a day job, and his day job was going into these abandoned houses or repoed houses where they're trashed and cleaning them up. So he's posting that content, doing stuff in a Forrest Gump type of voice. It was a lot of fun. And he said somebody saw one job site and saw another, and basically triangulated them and just started going to his job sites. And as a fan, it was, again, just don't, right?
Yeah, please don't.
But I think a good pro tip that you're talking about, Heather, there is like, if you do come up to somebody, introduce yourself, and always say, whether we've interacted a bunch or not, say, I'm so-so, especially if you know you have not interacted. This happened to Daniel this morning. Somebody yelled, "Oh," and he turned around and was like, "You don't know me, but my wife's a Gumpling. She wanted to meet you. We were just in line behind you." And of course, he was just like all of us. Like, yeah, cool. I'll go talk to her. But I was like, that's perfect. You don't have to figure out, do I know you? You don't have to figure out what the name is. And like I said, the handles. I try to tell my audience, if your handle is Imaginary Nomad, come up and tell me that's your handle when I meet you, because I wouldn't know.
I would rather you not know.
Well, I wish I didn't know. Let's start down there, Phil. This is one for the whole table.
Okay.
What's one of the best pieces of advice that you have gotten that has influenced your life or creativity?
It's okay to say no.
It's a good one.
I used to be kind of one of those creators that was like, yes, I'll help you out. Yes, I'll put my own stuff on the side. Yes, I'll guest on this. Yes, I'll do that. And the burnout came a lot quicker than I expected it to a complete and utter breakdown mentally and physically. And so I had to kind of realize that, like, no, you know what? It's not that I don't want to do it. It's just I need to have some time for myself. So, like, finding my own time used to be very difficult because I would, stream 5 days a week and then also do some guest work or help people review their podcast or maybe try to edit somebody else's show. And like my own personal time of decompression and recentering was never important until it was the most important thing ever. So kind of slowing down and being able to pick and choose, like, yeah, I can do this, but not right now. Come back to me in 6 months was a hard lesson I had to teach myself. Because I'm such a people pleaser that I don't want to anger somebody by telling them, no, I'll hit you up later or anything like that. It's like, yeah, no, of course I can do that. I know I've been at work for 12 hours, but certainly I'll prioritize your thing and get that done, and I'll sleep in 6 more hours. So being able to graciously say no has been very important to me. And being like a no but has been okay, right? I've been doing a lot of no buts. Hey, no, but here's somebody else that I'm friends with that could maybe help you out. Or no, but come back to me in a couple months when I'm a little bit more on my feet. Just because you get a no once doesn't mean you're always going to get that no. So that's been my main thing that I've taken away over the last 6 years.
I need to record what you said because my wife tells me that all the time, and I'm saying no, yes, no. I said darn, but thank you for that. Here's one question I did have for most digital creators that I come across, because obviously a lot of times it's not your full-time job. You also are working or doing anything else. How do you balance having your content creator or your digital persona balance with what your outside digital persona is, whether it's you have a family or you have another job, and then just saying like, hey, this is what my digital persona is versus what my real life is. And I'm just curious to hear what the panelists say.
That's a really good question. So you guys good if I go? Cool.
Yeah.
I do have a day job, so I work a full-time day job outside of content creating, and then I'm also a fantasy author, so I write books, I do all that. And so it is really hard sometimes to find the balance to make content. What I have kind of had to start doing is prioritizing what I need, what is going to support me best financially and what is going to support me best mentally. So if I have a week where making content sounds like the absolute bane of my existence, I'm going to write my book instead. So that's just kind of how I do it. It is really hard. You have to balance your time a lot. I find when I get home from work, I'm too tired to film anything. So I usually do a bulk filming on the weekend. So I'll film like 10, 15, whatever amount of videos on Saturday and Sunday, and then post those throughout the week. But it's really just finding the time balance and figuring out what works best for you. And if you don't want to film or you don't want to talk for your podcast, you don't want to do it, don't make yourself do it that day. Otherwise, you're going to start to hate what you're doing. And I let that happen to me a lot. So don't do that to yourself.
I think for me, because I come from a very different background with all of this, the content that I have online, the actual plays and everything, we started filming because we just wanted to get together. The group of people I mentioned earlier, we just wanted to get together and play as friends, and we're like, oh well, we should film this just for posterity. We wanted to make like a little time capsule, and we never intended for it to go anywhere or be even broadcast to anybody else. And so we just all got together in Canada and in our friend's studio game room and to film it. And we're like, this is really good. Maybe we should put it out there. And we did. And now 5 seasons later, we're about to start a new season. We're filming mid-September. I'm going back to Canada, And with the way we're doing it is we're just filming everything all in a huge block. So I'm going to be up there for 8 days. We're going to film a few episodes a day and just we're just playing. I mean, I guess I'm lucky because we're just playing D&D. So we're just playing. But you know, there is a format to it. And we're doing it all in one big block. So I don't have to think about it every single day. But I can only imagine that balancing it with, you know, design and all the other things that I was doing, that I'm doing. I'm also a mom. I mean, my kids are adults, but still, they're still at home. Yeah, I can't imagine. I forget to post on. I don't have a following like this. I've worked on these huge things for some of the biggest companies in the world. And my games have sold millions of copies. You know, it's kind of incredible that I don't have a big social media following at all. But it's because I forget, like, whenever there's a convention I'll post, I'm like, oh, I did it right before this. I'm like, oh, I'm about to go on a panel, you know, and I'll do a little selfie or whatever. But then I forget in between. I don't know how you guys remember. So I'm learning a lot here too.
I forget. Honestly, I do forget a lot. And I'll realize, oh, crap, I haven't posted in like 4 days. Like, that is definitely happened.
But if you
And he
follow
does
me,
something
I'll
intern,
make
right?
sure to remember.
Yeah, then I got an intern.
All right, I'm gonna follow you right now.
You didn't do that. You lied. Do it right now.
You're on camera. Well, not
I
really.
don't-
We're on camera. Watching.
No, we'll all wait.
My thumbs are sweaty.
Mom spaghetti.
I wanted to say something too about the balance. Like, I think when you show up authentically in your social media, it makes it a little easier. So I know that there are some people who have personas. That is not me. I am just me online. And for some people, having that separation is much easier. I have a very good friend who's a content creator who her content and her personal life are two separate things. And I think it's because she's had some incidents that have hit too close to home and she really needs to do that separation. Maybe if I reach a certain point, I'll have to do that as well. But for me, I think it's also about like bringing your most authentic self when you show up. Because that makes the separation a little easier, because it's not like you have to turn something on or change something. Like, I have friends who are always like, there goes Heather filming again, because I'm consistently filming my whole entire day. I don't immediately post it, but I'm just thinking about like, this could potentially be content later. I even asked a friend who's here in the audience, I was like, can you just film some of me on this panel, please, for content later? You know, that kind of thing. It's like my brain is constantly working. And maybe that's like a problem. I don't know. But it doesn't bother me that I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to film this moment of my life because it could potentially be used as content later. But it's not like I'm curating anything specific. It's just the moment in time, if that makes sense.
And I would imagine that there are probably times when you're really just focused on your own personal workout.
Oh,
And that's just something that is just you working on you.
yes. Also that. And I have actually had like, I've had to intentionally focus that way. There have been times where I have been doing my own workout, or I made my own workout when I'm memorizing a workout program that I'm supposed to be teaching or something. And what I've realized is like, no, I need a workout that's just mine, where my brain doesn't have to be on. I can turn it off. I don't have to think about anything. I'm not creating content. I'm not memorizing something. I'm not writing programming. I'm just doing this for me. And I have had to make that separation. Yeah.
Bobby.
Yeah. So what I love about this question is I can tie in my answers to the previous two questions, and it actually all ties together with this question, because your question was, how do you differentiate work from this? And I'm one of those weird people who like my day job and I don't want to quit my day job.
Yeah.
And so how I differentiate it is I have a different name. That this isn't my real name.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Wait
It's
a minute.
Robert Blackwolf.
Yeah, Esquire the Third, Junior. No. So to tie it back into one of the questions about like boundaries, it's actually work in the opposite direction. My work thinks what I do is really cool. And I actually just started a new job. I just switched jobs, and the CEO thinks what I do is so cool. He actually introduced me to one of his customers. Like, this is Bobby Blackwolf. He does podcast and streaming and blah, blah, blah. And I'd like pull him aside and I'm like, look, you can't afford Bobby Blackwolf. You get Bobby, blah, 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 blah. You can't afford this guy. So I have that, but one of the best pieces of advice I got, and it was not from Charles. Charles was the opposite. Was it was more about what is value to you? What do you value? And it doesn't have to be monetary. And essentially the advice went down to, you don't have to make this a career. You can just do this, and it's fine to have a small loyal audience than a big viral one.
Yes.
And that works for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but for me personally, that's what I need to hear. So I do 1 hour a week. Like there's a couple hours around it for pre and post, but it's like, that's it. And so I have the rest of my time for me. And it's because I made peace with the fact that this is not going to become my day job. It's never going to be my day job. I don't want it to be my day job because then I'll start hating it. And so that's how I keep the differentiating. But also Bobby Blackwolf is like me, but turned up just a little bit. So like when my actual friends come, like my IRL friends come and see me on a panel, they're like, where's that guy on Thursday nights at trivia? Why can't we have him? He's funny.
It's like, it's me, but higher charisma. Thank you so much.
For me, I can speak a little bit differently because my main gig is with a group of people, right? So I have a very close relationship with everybody else on my show, and sometimes after working 50, 60 hours, it's kind of hard to get into the studio every Tuesday and do it. But we have such a tight-knit partnership between the four of us that I can easily say, hey, look, I've had a really crappy week. I'm going to be down when I get in. And the people that I create with can say no more, bro. And they'll be able to pick not only the show up, but try to lift me up as well to get me into a better place. And for my personal stuff that I do, it takes backseat at this point, right? Because if I miss a Sunday or a Monday or a Tuesday stream because I'm busy and I have other things, it really doesn't matter anymore. And so I rely on that open communication with the people I create with to know, like, hey, look, I can be honest with you. I am in a terrible place. And they're like, no, I got you, cuz we got this. And they'll help get me into a better place, but also be professional about it where it's like not front and center and, you know, on stream in front of everybody. And it very rarely comes through the mics because I've gotten better at that. There has been days that I go into the studio just like, oh, geez, 3 hours of this again? And it translates to the audience. And if I'm having a bad time, the audience is having a bad time. So I've really have been conscious about trying to come in, even though I'm in a terrible mood, kind of neutral, and letting my team and my partners in this help me get back to where I need to be.
So step out, and I'm going to answer as you come up. I went more the She-Hulk route and less Clark Kent route because I'm so loud. The last job I actually interviewed, which I still have now, I was like, you got to understand, I'm the Rock on a podcast. The world knows me. There is no getting around that.
The world knows you?
Roberts knows my name. That's all I need. So but I tell the work, I do digital media. That's what I'm knowing. And if you can't handle that, I need to know right now. I'll stay on the hustle. I'll drive Lyft and make ends meet because I do this.
Yeah, I had to do that with my current job too. I had to be really upfront with
You
them and
told me
be
you
like,
worked on a podcast?
no, but like I had to be really upfront and be like, yeah, I have 2 million followers. Please know this.
I kind of have a piggyback question in the opposite direction, if that makes sense. My day job is my digital content, and so I don't know if anyone here has any like tips on how that doesn't feel like one long job. Because there is no delineation there. And it's,
well, I think you have to put self boundaries in, right? You have
Yeah,
to say, I am not going to use this for creation at some point, right?
Because I mean, I let that happen to me, and I got burnt out really easily because it was like I was full-time content creator. I was running my own business essentially, and felt like I was working 24/7. There was nights where I didn't sleep. Like I was up responding to things. I was up making videos at like 3, 4 in the morning, and you have to kind of give yourself some self boundaries and almost start treating it like a 9 to 5 job, like
clock out
time.
100%.
Yeah, and it's hard to do, especially if you're like when I was doing my content creation full time plus running a business, I was like dealing with like shipping out live animals and merch and things like that. And that is something that sometimes customer service, sometimes people want it 24/7, but you have to set that boundary with yourself, almost being like, this comes back to something somebody said earlier, that you don't owe that to your audience to be available 24/7.
I think I'm so like creatively, I guess to put it in context, so I'm a beverage director. I create cocktails and I work for a restaurant group. And so the creativity there is creating all of the time, right? But you're creating for a company, and then you have to go home, and it is a skill that isn't really different in that way. Like it's going from on a screen to not on a screen, but essentially the creative pool
Yeah.
is the same.
So I
And so it's
actually,
like,
my
how do
day
you-
job's actually in marketing, so I totally get
Yeah,
that.
how do you?
I spend all day marketing other people's stuff, and then I have to go home and market myself.
Yeah.
So I 100%
Yeah.
get that. Yeah,
Herd boundaries.
boundaries.
You have to find a way to recharge your battery. Right?
Yes,
It's-
yes.
Much as I'm always, we talked about this on one of my shows, Wise and Nerdy, about hobbies. Well, I don't have hobbies. Everything I pick up, oh, this is fun. I go, how can I put that in the content
Yeah.
creation? How can I feed it in my
Yeah.
machine? And I had to go. I am not going to stream on my Xbox. I will make my Xbox the place I play a game just for myself,
Mhm.
and it just is different there a little bit. So
It's actually a
and-
major problem now. Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of psychologists have been talking about the fact that, like, right now, because we've all moved into such like a gig economy and hobby economy,
Mhm.
where nobody has real hobbies anymore. They feel the need to monetize all the things that they love because you're able to. But the pushback now is to not monetize your hobbies. I mean, I'm screwed there because I mean, I make games and my hobby's games. And
I
go
also
to
feel like
conventions
I'm
for
screwed
games,
there,
and
yeah.
I'm like 24/7. I'm playing games, whether it's for work or not. And so, but so it's really hard for. And I mean, I'm being a hypocrite right now saying it, but the main thing is, like, if you have something, you need to create that delineation and just not monetize it. For you, it's a little different, and I know you go to a job and then come home. But my advice for separating things for other people, especially if you do work from home, is I actually moved my house to a place where I would have a separate office. There's a building in my backyard that's my game room
Yeah,
slash office,
same.
Yeah.
and it is a completely different like building. It used to be, it's like a detached garage that I
Mhm.
converted. And I have to walk from my house into there and work all day. And then when I leave there, I mean, I
Yeah.
tell myself this, it's kind of bullshit. I'm sorry. So sometimes I cheat and I end up working, from my couch also. But I really, really try to, when I leave my office in my backyard into my house, the day is over.
Shoes
Mhm.
on. ADHD,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
you know what I
it's
mean?
not. Yeah, it's easier said than done, but it is good advice, even if I don't follow it.
And to that comment about shoes on, but that was during COVID and everybody's working from home. They said get dressed for work. It changes your mentality, even though you're at home and you're doing that, and that helps. We've got to wrap out here, but I'd like to say to that point, working a 9 to 5 job, you're gonna have times when you need to pay an extra bill, so you're gonna do a little overtime. You're gonna take some time off. You're not gonna feel well, and you're gonna call in to take the day, right? You got to do that for yourself in creation. You have to
Yeah.
know, I cannot work another minute today. I need to rest my brain and know that tomorrow I'll be back.
Yep, hard cutoffs.
Yeah.
That's it, right? I could edit a 1 hour podcast for 3 to 7 hours,
Days.
right?
No, you would.
And
do
I
that.
will I'll make a hard cutoff. And you know what? I need decompression after that. So here's my hard cutoff. I'm going to read for an hour, and then I'm going to go through my bedtime ritual and then reset tomorrow.
Yep.
All right, well, let's go down the line. We'll start with you, Bobby.
Yeah.
And tell everybody where they can find you, either this weekend or online, or whichever you like.
All right. This weekend everywhere, I guess. That's what the paper on the back of my badge says. But normally you can find me over at the Voice of Geeks Network, so it's vognetwork.com. My podcast called The Bobby Blackwell Show is actually streamed live on Sunday nights, but not this Sunday night, obviously, at 8 p.m. Eastern for about an hour. It's called The Bobby Blackwell Show. It's about the video game industry. I'm a software developer by day job, so I can actually talk about development, game development, and things that are happening from that lens, even though I've never worked in the game industry myself, thankfully. So it's there at VOG Network, or you can find The Bobby Blackwell Show. And you can also find me in the Digital Media Track Discord, because I participate in there. And you
Yes,
should go, there's a
you
QR code.
I'm Philip D. Keating, also known as the Imaginary Nomad. You can find me here tomorrow at 8:30 as my supposed friend made me watch Borderlands. And so if you want to see us talk about Wait You Haven't Seen with TV's Travis, that will be here tomorrow night at 8:30 here. It's going to be great.
Did he see it too, or is it
Oh,
just
yeah.
you? Okay.
Oh, yeah. And he's also got differing opinions than I do.
My name is Heather Bodie, and you can find me on all social media platforms at Heather Bodie, and it's spelled Boddy. So it's like body with 2 D's. And I have little pins if you are interested in getting a hot nerd or fit nerd button. I have some of those, so you can come find me, and I'll give you one that has my handle on it. My workout program is called Geeknasium, so it's like gymnasium with geek in front of it if you want to look for that. And I also forgot to say that I'm a podcaster. And I have a podcast called Mental Health Multiverse. We're about to launch season 3. And what we do in Mental Health Multiverse is we break down pop culture and media through the lens of mental health and healing. And we're launching our season 3 is about Disney villains, so that'll be fun. And where you can find me tomorrow, I'm hosting a cause positivity panel about fitness and body image in the cosplay community. That is at 2:30, and it is upstairs in the Hilton 302/305 room. So that's where you can find me.
Hey everyone, once again, my name is Elisa Teague. I have the unfortunate Twitter and Instagram handle of Geeky Pinup. It's a long story that we don't have time for, but I cannot change it. It is established. So you can find me online there or on Facebook. If I don't know, my kids say nobody uses Facebook anymore, but the Elisa Teague. I am not on TikTok. Maybe that's my problem. But here at the show, this is where you can find me. I'm wearing my glasses because it's so super tiny. Tomorrow at 2:30 in the Westin, I'm on a creating a board game panel. So if you want to know how to create a board game, come join us as we talk about that. Saturday at 2:30, alternative systems. Is it like D&D? Other tabletop RPGs. So we will be talking about things that are not D&D. I have written on a bunch of other systems as well. So that's going to be super fun. Sunday at 1 o'clock, Traps, Riddles, and Tricks. I talked about that earlier. And then Sunday at 4 o'clock, my Legacy of Worlds live D&D game with Ed Greenwood, Keith Baker, Luke Gygax, Tommy Gofton, and myself. It's going to be super fun and a very fasty. If you've never played D&D or you've never watched D&D and you want to know, it's only an hour investment to see what it's all about. So come watch us do that. Then that's also at the W for Weston. That's it.
All right, and I'm Jess L.M. Anderson. You could just Google Jess L.M. Anderson, and I usually pop up. Or I'm Stress in a Box on pretty much every platform, all
It's
one
a
word.
great name.
Thanks.
Heck
it
yeah.
fits me so well.
Stress in a box.
That's why this little guy's been here. I've been playing with him. I'm so stressed. And other places you can find me is in approximately 30 minutes. I'll be in this exact same room doing VOG Network Presents a Digital Media Connection event. I'll also be on Sunday doing video for social media, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and more at 1 p.m. And then you can also catch me bolting through the hotel to the cinematic voyage of short film because somebody told somebody that I did short film like 6 years ago. I don't know who shared that information. And then I'll also be back here in this room at 5:30 on Sunday doing Awesome Women in Digital Media. So.
Before I tell you where to find me, I want to tell you if you don't have this, your phone. This is my phone. If you don't have the DragonCon app, get it. Because not only will it tell you where to find everybody that you want to see in this con, it lets you rate the panels.
Yes.
Go ahead and rate it the highest star level you think you should put in. Put your comments in. Honestly, we have found out that comments like, hey, give them a bigger room, it doesn't help. But true comments of what you enjoyed, what could be different, thoughts you would have, add that in. You got the charity bucket.
And the best nation is a donation. So come over here and throw your monies.
And actually, we're going to move that by the water. So if you get water, just drop your dirty change. We'll recycle it for you. No
You're
worries.
going to put it in the back of the room where nobody's watching
That's where people come in and out.
Oh, we got a money man.
That's how
there.
money works. They see it online and they send you coins that just fall out of the light there.
I get paid in hot dogs, so I don't know what you're talking about.
And we love photos. I've seen a number of people taking photos and videos. If you post those, we would love you to tag it with the hashtag #BeAwesomeTogether. That's the theme of what we do with this track every year. And that will help us search all the socials and find it and share the love. So we'd love to have it. You can find me personally on the Rock Out of Podcasting everywhere. It is Linktree/RGOP42. You can find all my socials there. And I'll be on a number of panels and recording different things this weekend. I'll definitely be around these rooms. So thank you, everybody. Let's give a really quick round of applause. Everybody here on this panel has been here before, except for Elise. So let's give her a great digital media. Thank you. Elise, you brought a lot of great insight. Phil, not so much, but we love you. So, and one more big shout to wake up everybody. Welcome to DragonCon 2024.
Hey. Everybody be safe, have fun. I'm happy to hear that you're on the panel. I saw when it was first.
I feel like I
posted,
should
you're on the
just
imposter
stay
for
here.
the panel with
I know,
us.
I'm very-
Dude, I'm so happy.
I'm-
It's gonna
But
be
you're
fun.
welcome to do whatever.
I'm very